All right, everyone, welcome back to the Kickin Show here at the kickinthetires.net. We've got Justin, we've got Sarah, Zach, Matt, Seth. The only person we're missing tonight is Summer, and so Jordan doesn't make it off on the show very often, but that's okay. We still love them. We still care about them. We're happy that they're part of the company, but this is a good crowd. 6 writers, photographers from Kickin' the Tires, and we've got a big show, busy show happening. Lots of news this week. Who's got the new rides? Erik Jones, Chase Briscoe, also Kyle Larson in the mix. We're hearing he's back in the back approved. So, Justin, why don't you lead us off? Talk about what's happening, what the big news stories have been so far this week.
Yeah, obviously Larson probably being the biggest one of all, being officially reinstated by NASCAR after being suspended a little over 6 months ago after his little iRacing dropout. And then Chase Briscoe is going to take over Clint Boyer's ride after Clint Boyer announced he is retiring. And then Erik Jones, even though that's been a rumor in the garage for a few weeks, now is official. He is going to be taking over the 43 car, both those happening next season in the 2021 season. So what are you guys' thoughts? I think we kind of saw Jones and Briscoe coming, and then Larson being rumored to go to Hendrick, although no official announcement has been made yet. But what do all you guys say? Sarah, why don't you start off?
I really didn't see Jones. I thought there was a chance he might go to Hendrick, but then it's all been Larson like the whole time pretty much. I think if he goes to Hendrick, that it definitely does not stay the 88. At least goes the 5 or I don't know, maybe the 57, but they haven't ran the 57 since Vickers ran it, I think, in the Busch Series. So that's been a while. And Jones, besides the 43, I didn't see him go to the 32. So I'm interested to see how he does next year. And it's a multi-year deal, so, I mean, that's good for him. It's not like a 1 year and that's it. So I'm interested to see how he does. And Briscoe, I think Briscoe has earned that ride. So he should hopefully do some big things next year. I wouldn't be surprised. He's had a really good year in Xfinity, obviously.
Yeah, Zach, you've been at a lot of races this year. You've covered a lot of the trucks, Busch, I should say Xfinity, and the Cup Series races. So you've gotten to see Briscoe. What do you think about that with him going up into the Cup Series?
Well, certainly saw this coming, especially as you mentioned Boyer's retirement announcement soon ago. I mean, as soon as that, even before then, we kind of knew he was ready, for that SHR ride, no matter who it would be. But then when Boyer did that announcement, I mean, I'm like, he's ready. He's absolutely ready. I mean, 2.5 years in the Xfinity Series. He's achieved about everything you can, except for that title, that I think he's an absolute lock for this year. But it does come down to one race, so it's never a lock, I guess. But, I mean, he's proven everything he absolutely could this year. I mean, breaking records, winning an insane amount of races. I mean, he's topped some great talent in Austin Cindric and Allgaier and Gragson, who's just getting better each year. And he's been the best, really, except for that one stint where Cindric was on a run. I really think Briscoe's been the most consistent this year, and 9 wins is just absolutely incredible. So, I mean, and really the biggest thing is the fact that he's with the same team. He's been able to prove himself to SHR, and it is a different series. I mean, it's not going to eliminate the difficulty of that switch to Cup. It's probably the toughest switch you can possibly do, but it'll definitely ease it because he's already known those guys for some time, and sort of similar to Jones, except it's just an experience thing. He hasn't been with RPM before, and I mean, I really like that fit. I think it's going to fit him well. I think it's just what RPM needed. It's exactly what they want at this point in their tenure in the Cup Series. After losing a big driver like Bubba, to replace him with a proven winner, a champion in the NASCAR National Series, a young driver. I just think his experience, he's got a few years in Cup. Bubba didn't when he started with the team. And just how much better RPM has gotten these last 2 or 3 years with Chevy, I think it's going to be, I think those two are lining up perfectly to have I don't think they're going to be winning races, but I think top 10s might be a little more common, but they're going to learn a lot together, and I think that's also a really good move. those guys.
Yeah, I think you mentioned it with the 43 there, that they really have been improving over the last few years. So, Matt, we'll go over to you real quick. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think Jones will be the next one to put the 43 car in victory lane?
I really do think so, that he will have a chance to put it in victory lane. I mean, you have all the road courses coming up next year that are going to be wild cards, and all the super speedway races where you can just pick a name out of a hat and they're likely to go to victory lane. So I really do think that Jones will pull the 40, maybe not next year, but definitely in his tenure there.
Yeah, and then you mentioned it right there. A lot of road courses next year. The Xfinity Series has really been kind of the guinea pig, I guess you could say, with some of these road courses. So, Seth, I'll let you chime in on this, but Cup Series is going to follow suit with 6 road course races next year. Do you think that kind of gives Briscoe and maybe some of these other guys coming up from the Xfinity Series to maybe sneak in a win?
I think it will, if they can get by Chase Elliott and Martin Truex Jr. for that matter. Yeah. But I think it will at least give them a better chance to win. And the reason why I'm saying that is the road courses are such a unique beast all onto themselves. And each one is unique that one might suit Truex better like Sonoma. One might suit Chase Elliott better like Watkins Glen. And both Chase Elliott and Chase Briscoe have excelled at the Roval, so it might be a fight to the finish between the two of them.
Yeah. And then, Jerry, Kyle Larson, that is, being officially reinstated by NASCAR, and lots of rumors that he's going to be going over to Hendricks. You obviously know a lot more probably than we do. But with that said, what are your expectations with Larson going into the 2021 season?
Honestly, I think Larson's probably the driver that I'm the most excited about. Look, at the end of the day, Larson made a mistake. He owned up to it. He dealt with it. Now he's getting a second chance that he deserves. For a while, everybody said, "Oh, he's going to the 14 and he's going to replace Boyer and he's going to be with Tony." That we knew wasn't going to happen because we had Chase Briscoe. Okay, and Chase, as everyone has agreed, deserves that ride. He earned that ride. I think what they were waiting for at Stewart-Haas was whether or not Clint was going to leave or sign, and I think that may have caught him off guard because obviously that was a little over a week ago that happened, and we just found out a couple days ago officially for Chase Briscoe to go into that car. But that's fine. That's how the dynamic of stock car racing works, where you've got to get sponsors, manufacturers, and everything else together. High Point coming on for Chase Briscoe. Now, go back to Larson. Who's the sponsor going to be? I don't know. Mm-hmm. Chevrolet earlier in the year said, "Look, we're ending our relationship. We're parting ways." However they put it in their email. Their official statement. But when I talked to them, they said, "Look, we're not going to predict anything for the future, and he'll be in a Chevrolet, he'll be in a Hendrick car. It'll probably be, if they're smart, it'll be the 57 car, a 57 Chevy. He drives a 57 in the World of Outlaws. There's all kinds of dynamic that you could get there. You could get Heinz 57 to sponsor him. There's all kinds of reasons why that should be his car number." Also, I think you'll see HendrickCars.com on that car a lot. My understanding is that Rick Hendrick wanted Kyle Larson as one of his drivers, and that's why we saw some of the shifts that we saw on which driver went to which particular car. If you look on paper who owns each particular car, it's not always the same person. So you got to see who owns the car as well when you look at these deals. Great for Larson. He's going to rack up wins, okay? He's going to get wins, and he's going to be in victory lane. He's going to be a contender for the championship, and I can't wait to see that for him. Erik Jones at Richard Petty Motorsports, this is the shot they need to get them back on track. I'm not saying anything bad about Bubba because Bubba had a good opportunity, but he's got a better opportunity where he's going to be with Denny Hamlin and Michael Jordan. Bubba, a new driver coming out of Xfinity into Cup for the first time with subpar equipment. A lot of that has to do with your mental state as far as I know I'm not going to get wins. I'm just running for top 15s. I'm just running for top 10s. I think you'll see Erik Jones run for top 10s. I think you'll see Erik Jones get to victory lane in the 43 car. Bubba didn't have that chance because it took Chevy so long. They did him an injustice. Richard Petty Motorsports did him an injustice. They took a great driver and they put him in subpar equipment and expected him to do better than he is. And you just can't. Whether you can't will yourself to victory lane. So Erik Jones has driven all kinds of equipment. He was Toyota's golden boy. They decided they didn't want him. Well, most likely they decided they didn't have room for him. And he went to Chevrolet. He's going to be over there with using RCR stuff at Richard Petty Motorsports, unless something changes between now and next year. But I don't think that's going to happen. And I think at the end of the day, all of the stuff that's come out this week has made 2021 shape up to be a really interesting year with different drivers and different cars, and maybe even put a lot more competition on these older drivers like Hamlin, Kyle Larson, and Kevin Harvick.
Yeah, so a lot of shuffle, a lot of changes with drivers coming up this year. It'll be really exciting to see all the changes, not just with the schedule, with the road courses, but with all these drivers going to new teams, kind of refurbishing their careers or taking that next step with their careers. So next season, I think, is going to be one of the most exciting years that we've had in a long time in NASCAR. So definitely looking forward to that. Seth, real quick, you've got some news. The second playoff race for the iRacing League, is that correct?
For the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series, yes. Short story, chaos happened. Denny Hamlin's driver, Keegan Leahy, led 85 of the first 120 laps. It went caution-free until 7 laps to go when both of Clint Boyer's drivers wrecked trying to pass each other.
Did one of them have an elbow itch?
I don't know. But it jumbled the running order. 3 drivers stayed out, Michael Griglia, Philip Diaz, and Jarl Teen. And because they were on older tires, I believe Griglia was on 20-lap old tires, Diaz and Teen on 15-lap old tires, chaos kept breaking out behind them. First, we had Joe Gibbs Racing's Graham Bolin get turned in front of the field. Then you had Keegan Leahy get turned in front of the field in overtime. And Keegan's one of the playoff drivers. And then on the white flag, Nick Ottinger from William Byron Esports was able to get the lead as the field wrecked behind him. On iRacing, once the white flag is out, it is impossible for the yellow flag to actually wave. So he cruised to a victory and is now locked into Homestead, their Championship 4 race, along with Bobby Zelensky, who locked himself in last week. You have Jimmy Mullis from Richmond Raceway Esports, Ryan Luza from Williams F1 Esports, both currently in on points. They have one more race until between now and Homestead, and that is at Texas next week. Wood Brothers Racing, Garrett Lowe is only a few points out. He's 8 points out. Keegan Leahy is now 19 now. 4-time eNASCAR champion Ray Alfala is 21 points out. Alfala is in a must-win situation, and Michael Conley from Junior Motorsports is also in a must-win situation. He's a full 43 points out, which is a full race in eNASCAR competition.
I have a question. What does it take? How much money will it cost me to have a Kickin the Tires eNASCAR driver? And do I have to have multiple drivers? Because is it better to have multiple drivers, or is it cheaper to have one driver? I'm just curious.
Well, you would have to have 2 because the system that iRacing has, it's 20 teams of 2.
Okay.
So you would at least have to have 2. That being said, how much money it costs, I don't know, because each and every team is different. Burton Klingerman Esports, Kyle Larson, when he had a team before he unfortunately used a racial slur during an iRacing event, they I know they actually went and got all new equipment for their iRacing drivers, new wheels, new computers, new monitors, new headsets, essentially top of the line equipment, which I know my rig itself, and I don't have a play seat or anything like that. Literally, it's just a custom built computer, monitor, wheel, and that's about it.
Give me a number. I've got 3 lottery tickets right here. They could be worth millions. Can I afford it?
I would say about $5,000 minimum.
Wow. No.
And that's
no.
per driver.
Y'all would all quit.
And that is per driver.
Seth would be the first. Seth would be the first one to raise his hand and be like, "Can I go? Can I go?
Can I do it? Well, that's why we have you covering the eNASCAR and iRacing series out there. And you did say chaos happens, kind of like when I'm in a race. You know, speaking of Anthony Alfredo, Seth, Justin, both of you guys had a chance to interview him for the podcast. So we're going to go to that interview, see what you had to say, because he did take a wild ride at Kansas.
Yeah, thanks, Jerry. And we are indeed joined by the driver of the 21 car this past weekend at Kansas, Anthony Alfredo. Anthony, thanks for taking the time to join us today. Anthony, how have you been?
I've been well, thanks. I appreciate you guys asking and having me on the show as well.
So obviously we want to get into your race at Kansas this past weekend, but first we're going to talk a little bit about some of your iRacing experience, because you have a lot of background with iRacing. Obviously we know William Byron does too, but Seth is kind of our iRacing expert. So Seth, let's go ahead and get started with some of your questions regarding that.
Yeah, Anthony, I know you've raced with us a few times where it was the Monday Night Racing League, lower half dash during the shutdown. First off, how has iRacing been going? I know you have a partnership, if I remember correctly, with Richmond Raceway Esports, correct?
So we're just really close with the Richmond Raceway guys. There's actually nothing, I guess, business-wise or serious, contractual about that. It's just a friendship that I have with them and Sim Seats and Zach Novak and Jimmy Mullis, who are both the Richmond Raceway Esports drivers in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series, helped me a ton during the eNASCAR iRacing Pro Invitational Series. So they were kind of my coaches, and I had already been on iRacing, but they really helped me figure out some of the added little tips and tricks, right, to find a little bit extra speed. And they were my crew chief and spotter as well during the races. So they're definitely necessary to have. And they've been really great friends of mine as well. So that was really cool. And as you mentioned, obviously the partnership with iRacing, having them on my real life car and running in the Monday Night Racing League was a blast. Unfortunately, most of the time I had a simulator for real life during those nights, but every night I didn't. I made it a point to get in there and race with those guys because it was a ton of fun.
Yeah, and how long have you been on iRacing? There's always a story about William Byron and how he got started on there. How long have you been on there?
So I've been on iRacing for quite a few years now, but I actually didn't start racing a whole lot on it until recent years. I had it and did a lot of testing when I was racing before I started racing. Obviously, I did a little bit of racing, and when I started real world racing, it was great practice for me before I went and raced the late model at, say, Southern National Motorsports Park. So it was definitely more of a test and tune, kind of visualize things and just help me get more comfortable and get an idea for things that help lessen the learning curve for me in real life. And that's exactly how I am with it now, except I do more online racing for sure and do it pretty competitively, as you mentioned, in multiple leagues and some of the professional leagues that are out there. So it's definitely played a huge part of my career. And I will say it's played an even larger role than ever before because of us not having practice or qualifying, especially as a rookie in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. To go out there and take the green flag is my first laps at a lot of these tracks. And even places I ran in a truck last year are so tremendously different in an Xfinity car that it's really helped me kind of visualize the track, feel some things out, and have a little bit of a better idea before I get there in real life.
And speaking of leagues, you run your own league, the Esports Racing League. Talk a little bit about that. What's next for that league and when does it run?
So the Esports Racing League is what I would consider a professional iRacing hosted league, one of the most competitive out there. It's got prize winnings. It actually pays money to win every single week on Wednesday nights. And there's a championship bonus as well. We got some awesome sponsors that allow us to do that. And all the races are broadcast live on a bunch of my social media channels and then the ERL Twitch and YouTube channel. And it's been really cool to see a lot of these talented iRacers hop in there who maybe aren't at the Coke Series level, but they're still very talented, have really high I ratings and safety ratings, and are really great drivers. But like I said, maybe they don't compete at the level by choice, or they haven't gotten there yet. However, we do have a lot of Coke Series drivers that run in the series, like Jimmy Mullis, Zach Novak, Blake Reynolds, and plenty more. So it's really cool to see all of them race together and in fixed setups. It's not an open setup league. Everyone is on a fair playing field, and we have a ball. It's a great time. I did it kind of just for fun in the beginning to race with some buddies, and now it's a legitimate league, and we have actual sponsors, pay money to win, and it's broadcast live, as I mentioned. So it's been cool to see it grow, and I take it very seriously. I really enjoy it and love having a platform where these drivers can, show their talent on iRacing.
Now, during the shutdown, and also I think right before the shutdown, when Chad Knaus has been in the booth, he's talked a little bit about you setting up his iRacing rig, and we've heard his side of the story. Talk a little bit about your end, how, I don't know if it was surreal to set up a rig for Chad Knaus or what that was like, and what goes into setting up a rig for SimSeats.
That's a great question. So it all started with my relationship with SimSeats, of course, where they built me a simulator and we brought our campaign sim to reality, made it a real thing. That's what we like to call it. And that goes for our relationship with iRacing as well. And with SimSeats building me a rig, Zach is the owner, and we became very good friends, and everyone over there are great people. And I help them, give them a lending hand whenever, just volunteer to set up a rig if he's ever coming down to the area I live in. And one of those happened to be Chad Knaus, and another one following that was actually Jimmy Johnson. So it's kind of ironic that it was both of them a couple weeks apart, and really cool for me, right? Because I was a race fan growing up. So there's two sides of this. Number one, I'm a racer, so it's cool to meet these guys who are involved with the same industry, but I'm also a fan. So it was a cool experience, as you mentioned, pretty surreal to be able to go do that. And I love helping out SimSeats and to do it on a level where they're providing simulators for some of the best real world racers in the world is definitely special. And I love being a part of that and helping out Chad learn how to get on iRacing and get him comfortable in his SimSeats driving simulator was a special day for sure. He always tells a story how I was there installing it, and I was just this kid with Zach helping set it up. And he asked me what I did for a living outside of that. And I told my race. I had never brought it up just because that's kind of the type of person I am, right? Unless it's somehow brought up, I don't go around just saying I drive race cars. And Chad actually said something that was pretty interesting. He said, hey, you know how I look at it? Be proud of what you do. And that's great because I am proud of what I do. So that was interesting to hear that, don't be afraid to say something like that. But anyways, he had never heard of me until then. So when he realized, he was like, oh my gosh, you're driving for, Richard Childress Racing, the Xfinity Series. That's awesome. And he happened to be in the booth for my debut and a couple other races this season and told that story from his perspective. So it's definitely been one I'll never forget.
Now, coming or having a background in iRacing, granted, I know you also have a real world background. You drove for, I believe, Dale Jr. in late models. You've driven for MDM, DJ Crosley, and a few other teams. But how do you deal with the criticism or potential criticism of your iRacing background? I believe spotter Brett Griffin is one of them this past weekend on Twitter that had a little bit of criticism for you.
It's a great question. A lot of them probably haven't even been on iRacing, and that's why they say those things, to be honest, because a lot of us that race in real life and have been on it, I wouldn't say the things I do say about it because, put it this way, iRacing, I've been fortunate to have a real life partnership with on the track. But long before that, I was an advocate of their brand, and that's what actually inspired that partnership and me to become a bigger part of their, brand and represent them, is because I believe in it, and it's helped me as a race car driver. And I know William Byron feels the same way. So it's only gotten better over time and more realistic and more accurate. It's a legitimate training tool for drivers. So when it comes to that, iRacing's more than a game. It's not really a video game. It's a simulation. That's why it's called iRacingSimulation.com. So to have that as a legitimate training tool, even though you can race online with friends and all this, it's more than a video game. And even if there's maybe physical factors you don't experience, you're still honing your skills when it comes to your inputs behind the wheel and all those kinds of things. So all those people, like I said, I would if they haven't tried it and they think that, I would love to invite them over. Maybe after coronavirus, they can come over and try my SimSeats driving simulator out and feel for themselves.
And speaking of William Byron, how often do you get compared to William since he has a similar background? And how do you deal with any possible added expectation with what William's been able to accomplish compared to where you are in your career right now?
I think there's no added pressure or anything like that from what Williams accomplished, but I think it's helped someone like myself because he's proven that you can get to the highest level in racing from starting on a simulator. And if anything, I have been compared to him, as you mentioned, which is pretty humbling and really cool to share that similar story and come from the same path, so to speak. I know he was a race fan growing up just like me as well. So it's kind of cool. We have a lot more common than even I realize at times. And of course the fans. So it's pretty cool to share that with him and be involved with iRacing still from the outside as real world drivers and kind of do that. Like I say, we always have the sim to reality, and him and I have done that, which is pretty awesome.
So I gotta ask, did you ever think you would get to play as yourself in a video game like on NASCAR Heat?
No, absolutely not. So that's another thing is when I was the first time I was in NASCAR Heat, it was actually a dream come true because I come from a video game background. That's why I got so involved with iRacing, because it was right in the middle, right where the gaming industry or the esports industry, I'll call it, and the motorsports industry meet. And that's why I've always tried to bridge that gap and be a leader in doing so. And when it comes to NASCAR Heat and being in the video game, I come from a video game background, and I used to play, all kinds of games, especially ones where there are character selections, like even, Madden, where you could play as your favorite football player. So to know that people are playing as me as their favorite race car driver is very humbling, and it's really cool. I know when I turn it on, I play as myself, because who wouldn't, right? It's pretty awesome.
Wow, that's awesome. Well, talking about Kansas, you had a strong run going until you flipped during one of the restarts. Obviously, glad you're okay and you're ready to race again, but tell us about it. Was that your first time flipping?
It was, and I hope it's my last and my only one, because it's definitely not fun. And, you never expect something like that to happen, right? But it goes to show you how fast racing can change. We had an awesome race going for us, and next thing you know, it went upside down, literally. And to have that happen and be okay is the number one thing. It's a true testament to how far safety's been innovated in NASCAR, and everything did its job, right? The safer barrier, my equipment, my helmet, my Hans, the car held up. Obviously it was totaled, but the way things bend and break and, to absorb some of that impact. And of course, last but certainly not least, the safety crew getting there so quickly and get me flipped over and, just making sure I was all right was the biggest thing. You never hope you have to experience that, or you never hope you have to test your safety equipment out, but it's nice to know everything did its job, right? And makes you feel a whole lot better about it. I know if I had seen that crash on the couch, I probably would have been standing up and freaking out and, hoping the driver was all right. And now to experience it and walk away and think, wow, that was hopefully the worst crash I'll ever have in my career, and know that I'm ready to go race again this weekend. I know NASCAR posted all over their pages my quote where I said, I wish I could have flipped back over and kept digging, because that's exactly how I felt about it. I just wanted to stay out there and be racing for the win.
Yeah, when I heard that, I couldn't help but think of Earnhardt flipping at Talladega, then continuing on like nothing ever happened. Now, for those of us watching on TV or listening on the radio, we always hear about kind of the safety procedures, I guess you could call, from the workers that tend to your car and all that. But what about the drivers? What have you been told, or do you have some sort of procedure on your end whenever you're involved in a flip like that?
So for me, I definitely have a order of which I take everything off, right? When I do my seatbelts, my radio, my helmet hose, and those are things I remember in an average wreck, and I've never had to do any of that upside down, which fortunately I wasn't on fire or anything like that. It could have been way worse. I could have started tumbling. I know at one point it started to tip and came back down and kept sliding on the roof. And I was worried about it catching the tires and doing one of those scary, really rough barrel rolls. because that could have made it worse. And of course, the fire would have as well. And when a fire occurs, you don't have a choice but to get out. And you mentioned the window net. And even more importantly, when you take your belts off, it's the only thing holding you in place. So you're just going to plop right on your head. And some people actually hurt themselves, even more because they fall on their head. And then you kind of have to figure out, it's all tight inside the cockpit of the race car and you're trying to twist around. And I kind of had a plan I was going to fall on my head because I didn't have a choice and then try to spin around on my back and slide out on the ground on my back. But since I wasn't on fire, they wanted me to stay in the vehicle till they could flip it over safely and get me out that way so that I wouldn't fall and hit my head or anything like that. So I actually keyed up on the radio and my spotter was going to try to coach me through how to get out of it. And I'm like, do they want me to wait? Or he's like, well, we'll see. Wait till they get there, and they were already there at that point in time. And I told them that they had told me just to wait it out and they were going to flip me over since there wasn't anything. I wasn't injured and there was no fire or anything like that. So I'm not going to say I wasn't prepared, but like I said, I knew the order of which I was going to do things. And sitting there for a second, I was getting prepared and everyone was kind of coaching me through what to do. But safety crew got there by the time I stopped sliding and was able to get me through it properly and safely.
I know your family, your team, your fans, and us here at Kickin are all glad you're safe. During that caution, though, you sounded a bit frustrated. I know as a racer that happens, but tell us more what led up to that.
So I usually don't let things get to me, and I never really get heated on the radio. If I get a little frustrated, I usually don't say it. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't disappointed in myself. I didn't swear or anything like that. Swearing's not typically in my vocabulary as it is, but I was still a little aggressive and I was frustrated because I know all my fans and I want to be a role model for young people and I don't want to seem aggressive because that's not how I am, as you could tell. But I was pretty frustrated only because, I have 2 races left this year and I don't have a contract signed. And my job every week is to go get as good a finish as possible, ideally win the race. And last night I felt like, Saturday night at Kansas, I felt like was the closest I had been all year to winning a race. And I knew I was watching the leaders, the first and second place cars get away from me there on that restart as someone was, racing me really hard. And it was a difficult situation to be in, right? Because there's guys running for points and a championship and I'm not. However, I'm racing for a job. I don't have a contract signed. I'm not guaranteed to move up. I'm not locked in again for next year or whatever. And I'm out there to prove I could do it and try to win a race for not only myself and my career, but my race team. So usually I kind of, will decide whether I need to let someone go or if it's my turn to go and they should let me go. And that was one of those situations nearing the end of the race and having a car good enough to win. I knew we had to stay caught up with the leaders and racing side by side was holding us back, especially, against a car that was significantly slower all night. So like I said, it's a tough position to be in when you're not in the points, but you're still racing for wins. So it's just one of those things. But nonetheless, we moved on from it and everyone's all good. We never ended up crashing or anything because of it. We crashed on the next restart. So that was frustrating. But it's a part of racing. So everyone's there. Everyone's there for the same reason, right? Everyone wants to win the race or get as good a finish possible for their team. So everyone's going to race hard. That's our job. And that's what it comes down to throughout a race.
Well, that was actually one of my next questions. But do you have anything lined up for 2021 yet?
No, unfortunately not. I wish I was lying when I said that, but don't get me wrong, there's some great opportunities on the table, and I'd love to be back with this 21 team at Richard Childress Racing to go compete for a championship because in running half the races this year when the playoffs started and the initial 16 were locked in, I was actually I made the top 16 with running half the races. So I definitely believe that if I had run every race and as a team, we could build momentum and, each week, just like I said, carry momentum off of a great finish and not have to wait a couple weeks and kind of stall out and get back up there. I think we would have won a race or more by now. Definitely be securing even more top 3s, top 5s. And I definitely think we'd be in the hunt for a championship. So that being said, hopefully we can make something happen for next year because I've got a lot of phenomenal experience this year and to build this chemistry with this team and build relationships with all these new partners and hopefully even more in the future because that's the only thing preventing us from signing a contract right away is just a little bit of sponsorship we're needing to secure and have guaranteed to lock ourselves into a full-time season next year.
Now, do you have 2 more races this year or is it just this weekend at Texas?
Texas is actually the last one. So Kansas and Texas were my last two, but Texas is the last one, which is all right because I love Texas. And the last time we were there, I led a handful of laps and definitely had a car capable of winning. So if we go back there and have that same sort of speed, I definitely believe we'll have a shot at it. And I'd love to go out on top for my last race of the year.
Got it. Well, best of luck this weekend. Thanks again for your time with Seth and I on the Kickin' Show, and hope we get to share some good news for you soon for 2021.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Great stuff, you guys. I appreciate you taking care of that interview. You know, Anthony is a really cool guy, and we've had a couple of stories at Kicking the Tires about him. Let's look forward. Who has punched their ticket to Phoenix? Who's going to be our next champion across all three series?
Yeah, and in fact, two of those drivers were actually below the cutoff line before the race started. So we'll start with the Truck Series. Brett Moffitt grabbing the win over Sheldon Creed, Austin Hill, Grant Enfinger, and Chandler Smith getting the top 5. Another notable, not a playoff driver, but Trevor Bayne getting a top 10 in there as well. So that was really awesome for everyone to see with him. Unfortunately, Tyler Ankrum getting involved in that crash and out after 38 laps. So he's got an early hole that he's dug himself up. But Brett Moffitt punches his ticket to Phoenix. Right now, Sheldon Creed, Austin Hill, and Zane Smith are the only other 3 above the cutoff line, with Grant Enfinger, Matt Crafton, Ben Rhodes, and Tyler Ankrum being the other 4 below the cutoff line. Tyler Ankrum early on, but kind of looking like he's going to need a win to make it to Phoenix in the final 4. But Trucks, what do you guys think?
Well, in addition to all those storylines, we also had Haley Deegan making her Truck Series debut. She finished 16th after running out of fuel during a green flag run of pit stops and having trouble with second gear leaving pit road with no practice or anything like that.
We blew that call big time because I think we all picked her at like plus 20 or maybe even plus 25. So.
Well, yeah, I want to say I think I was vague enough that I could make the argument that I was close, but
you definitely tried to play the
I missed last week's show because work got way too crazy, but I told Rachel, I'm like, I think she's gonna get a top 15, and when she got 16th, I was like, oh my gosh, just one more spot, one more. Are you serious?
Well, on that last restart, she restarted, I believe, in 12th, but whatever issue she had with the second gear, she dropped from 12th to 18th by the white flag and was able to get back up to 16th.
Yeah.
So she was having some sort of issue with the gearing. I'm not entirely sure if she lost a gear, but there wasn't something quite right when she would go from second to third.
That's okay. Learning experience. Zach, who's your pick to I guess move on, and who do you like for a champion at this point?
In the Truck Series, I mean, I've definitely been keeping Sheldon Creed probably near the top of my list. I mean, he's been, in my opinion, the standout star of the Truck Series this year. Zane Smith definitely close up there, but pretty much everyone else has been winning this year. I kind of expected, the end fingers, and I mean, I can't believe it took Moffitt this long to win, but Creed for sure, he's proved a lot to me. I think Austin Hill also, with another year with her toy, he's definitely right there in the conversation. It's really tough to pick a champion. I'll probably end up going with Creed just because he's a guy I think of when I think of Phoenix. So, I mean, he's just been really good everywhere. So, I'm pretty comfortable with those top 4. I don't think it's really going to change. I think Zane and Austin are probably going to be in pretty good shape, and Creed and obviously Moffitt as well.
Matt, what about you?
I like Zane Smith. I think we've seen him kind of have a breakout year this year, winning on different kinds of racetracks. So I'd like to see him in victory lane at Phoenix. Along with him, I'm picking Austin Hill, and then Sheldon Creed, of course, and of course Brett Moffitt.
Sarah?
I mean, to be honest, I haven't really watched too much of the trucks, and I'm not very good with doing picks lately. So I'm just going to go with my gut instinct of who I think is going to win the championship. And I'm going to go with Brett Moffitt. I mean, like Matt said, Zane Smith has had a good year. Fortunately, I haven't got to watch much of the truck, so I kind of just go off what you guys say. And like Zach's always really good with like the whole stat thing. But I've proven I am not good with picks. Okay, I didn't even have Chase Elliott in the Final Four. So, yeah, but I think Moffitt. I don't know. Something's just telling me Moffitt for the truck, so that's what I'm gonna go with.
Real quick, you know he's related to Richard Petty, right? Because if you didn't, they told you on TV a lot that he's related to Richard Petty. Yeah, every time they talk about Brett Moffitt, they talk about he's related to Richard Petty.
Oh, because of Thad.
Yeah.
Thad Moffitt, the ARCA driver. Okay.
Yeah, so a little bit of shuffling there with the truck series with Brett Moffitt punching his ticket. So these next 2 rounds are going to be interesting to watch to see who wants their ticket more. But going on to the Xfinity Series, obviously we had one driver getting the win that really wasn't much of a surprise, to be honest, with his 9th win of the season. And the driver of the 14 car next year, Chase Briscoe, securing his ticket to next round, although having such a significant points lead, he pretty much had that one in the bag anyway. So Briscoe is going to be the first one locked into Phoenix, with Justin Allgaier, Brandon Jones, and Austin Cindric above the cutoff line. And then Justin Haley, Ross Chastain, Ryan Sieg, and Noah Gragson, after having that crash early on at Kansas, below the cutoff line. And Gragson, I think just a little over 30 points, 31 if I'm not mistaken, below the cutoff line. So Gragson's got a bit of ground to make up, but let's start talking about the Xfinity Series. So, Sarah, you were last for the truck, so let's have you first for the Xfinity Series. What are your thoughts?
Are we doing Final Four, or are we doing who we think's going to win here? Like the whole thing?
Both. Let's see who your Final Four picks are, and then who's your champion.
I'm going to go with, for the Final Four, I have to go with Briscoe and Cindric, because I think without going with those two, it's just kind of, those two are like a no-brainer. I think Gregson's gonna make some up. I could see him in the Final Four. The last one I would love to say Ryan Sieg, but I don't know. I'm just gonna go out on a limb and say Ryan Sieg, because I don't know. He's I'm just gonna go out on a limb. Something's just telling me he's done well. I mean, I'm surprised that has not won, because he's the only one that doesn't have a win. And he's still made it this far. And then for the champion, I got to go with Briscoe. That's a no-brainer for me. I think it's ultimately his championship to lose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and actually Ross Chastain, I think, is the only other one that hasn't won either. So, but yeah, no, I like that. Ryan Sieg, that would be interesting to see if he can make it into the Final Four. I like that. Matt, what about you?
The one thing that stands out to me about this round in the Xfinity Series is that the Xfinity Series hasn't raced at Martinsville since 2006. So I think you have people like Ross Chastain that have had experience racing there in the Cup Series. I'm sure that'll help translate over to the Xfinity car, just because I'm sure track time always helps. So I got Chastain, Brandon Jones, Justin Allgaier joining Chase Briscoe in the championship four at Phoenix.
So you have Cindric knocked out.
Yeah, I think I can't remember exactly how many points he is above the cut line, but he's not safe by any means. So you got Texas and Martinsville coming up. So
Cindric is the cut line.
Yeah, so we'll see.
Yeah, and I think he's just 2 points ahead of Haley. Yeah. Okay, wow. So you have someone with 5 wins this season not making it to the Final Four. All right, let's see if that happens. Zach, what about you?
First off, I gotta say I love the Xfinity Series this year. It's been, I mean, if I'm ever keeping track of my favorite seasons of all time, I mean, the Xfinity Series in 2020. No matter how much has happened this year, I feel like they've put on an absolute show almost every single week. And when we look at the points right now, I mean, all the drivers next to all the drivers all super close. I mean, this can go all sorts of ways. I mean, Briscoe's in, of course, and then Gragson is pretty far below. If he has a really good weekend this weekend at Texas, he might be able to make it on points without winning, but he's got to really perform well. Other than that, I think everybody's under one big blanket, and everyone's been showing some incredible muscle this year, especially these last 4 or 5 weeks of the playoffs, and it's really tough to choose. But I mean, Briscoe, of course, is in there. I think Cindric is going to be in. He's really good at Texas. He won there last time when Kyle Busch was DNQ'd. Man, Allgaier, Jones, Haley, Chastain, Sieg. It's hard. But, I mean, it's coming down to 1.5 mile race. That's a tough one. And then, as Matt said, Martinsville, which is kind of and that could be a crapshoot. We don't know how that's going to go. I think the guys who aren't going to be afraid to lay the bumper to people, which Chastain and Cindric, I think of them right away. I think that's going to play in their favor. But it is really tough to choose. But I'll probably go with Briscoe, Cindric, Allgaier, and I think Chastain's gonna get it done. He just has that grit to do what he has to do.
All right, I would have to say that's my final four too, because like you mentioned, and I think you mentioned it too, Sarah, and you, Matt, as well. But Chastain and Allgaier really are the only other drivers that have Cup experience at Martinsville. So,
well, if I may, we're all talking about Cup experience at Martinsville. A number of these drivers do have experience in the trucks at Martinsville.
Yep.
So there may be more experienced drivers in the field than we realize, say a Justin Haley, a Ryan Sieg, a Brandon Jones, who have all run the truck at Martinsville in recent years.
mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, it's not going to matter. Chase Briscoe is going to win every race for the rest of the season to be the champion.
There you go.
Here's a question. Here's a question. Who wins more races this year, Briscoe or Harvick?
Oh, Briscoe.
Ooh.
Briscoe. He's going to win out. Literally, he's going to win out the season. Harvick's going to get wrecked this week at Texas, and that's going to ruin his chances to make the Final Four. He's fixing to go 2 in a row where he gets taken out.
Didn't you say he was going to get taken out at Talladega, though? You were wrong.
Yeah, I know I was. It happens.
Didn't you say Kyle Busch is gonna go far, and then
I did.
Benedetto, the champion.
I did. I didn't get to get my other than Briscoe winning. I still like Brandon Jones advancing to the Final Four. I also like Haley and Allgaier, but it doesn't matter. Like I said, Briscoe, boom, 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 3 in a row. Well, it'll be 4 in a row at the time, but he's got 3 more races. He's got 3 more wins.
And I didn't get to give my Final Four yet either. Briscoe, Cindric, Brandon Jones, and Haley. And based on recent experience at Phoenix, I think Brandon Jones might steal a championship away.
ooh,
That would be interesting to see. But you know who's going to win the Cup Series champion?
Joey Logano.
didn't
This
you have
guy.
a different bobblehead last time?
I do. I have this bobblehead for that.
Doesn't even
Is it
look
all
like him.
connected?
And then I have this. Then I have this bobblehead.
Do you have the Jimmy Johnson bobblehead?
I do not. I've
Oh.
got to get one.
You need
But
to get.
I don't even have the Tony Stewart bobblehead. I looked for a Kyle Busch bobblehead. They're $160 on eBay.
Oh my god.
I'm sorry, Kyle. You're not worth $160 in the bobblehead form.
Well, whenever KBM is open, I can always swing around to there since I live around the corner.
There
And
you
see
go.
if they actually have one.
I'll ask Samantha if she can hook me up. But I want to pitch something real quick before we get into our picks for the Cup Series. Once we hit 100 subscribers, we're giving this away. Okay? I don't know if you can get one of these.
Unless they pop up on eBay, and if they do pop up on eBay, they're probably somewhere between $20 and $30 a track program car.
It is legit. It is a track program car from 2010. Okay, 10 years ago for Darlington, and I picked this car to give away because Darlington brought us back this year from COVID. So this is the car that we're going to give away when we get to 100 subscribers. As you can see, I have a whole bunch of cars back there that we're going to be doing throughout the podcast over the years as we continue to do this show. Those are going to be some of the prizes. I've got lots and lots of prizes. We've got a Kyle Busch backpack. I'm not getting rid of the bobbleheads. Sorry. They're too much fun during the show. But we're going to do some of that. But now it's time. Predictions for the NASCAR Cup Series. I'm going to kick it to Justin.
Oof.
Tell us what you think.
Man, I'll just say...
Actually, no, wait. I'm sorry. I'm going to drink my Sonic Limeades for learning here first. So.
Man, well, Joey took one, that's for sure. Because right now, if you take that win away, he is 5th in points, 10 below the cutoff line. Now he's knocked Chase Elliott below the cutoff line, but getting that win obviously punches his ticket to Phoenix. Kurt Busch getting the woes of Kansas with a blown motor there towards the end of the race. So a very unfortunate turn of events for Kurt, who had a very strong run all day. Now sits, I want to say about 65 points, maybe a bit more.
61, I think. 61.
Something around there. But he's
61, 65. It's a lot. It's
65.
more than it's 65. Okay.
Yeah, it's quite a ways below the cutoff line.
Well, here's the thing. That's 65 behind Chase Elliott, but Chase Elliott is in the cutoff.
73.
Oh.
Keselowski is
So it would be
cutoff.
more. Exactly.
Yeah, so that's 73.
73.
Yeah, you're right. So 73 points. That's almost 2 full races, if you think about it. So that's quite a mountain to climb. But Kurt is someone, I think, especially since he's a lot more matured in his career, he can definitely pull that off.
Texas? Can you win at Texas?
Yeah, that would be the question. Can he win at Texas? So, but yeah, let's see. You can't go. It's almost like Briscoe and Cindric. You just can't go wrong with Harvick and Hamlin making it in, and that really leaves one spot left for this Final Four with the Cup Series, and that's assuming Harvick or Hamlin can't get a win at either the short track at Martinsville or Texas. Gosh, I am gonna go way out on a limb here because something's telling me that something's gonna happen with Keselowski and Elliott, and Truex I just don't feel has it in him during this playoff run. I have a feeling Alex Bowman is gonna be that 4th driver to go to Phoenix to run for a championship.
That's a bold prediction there.
Yep. Am I right? Probably not. I feel like Sarah right now.
Matt, what do you think?
You know, I'm sitting here looking at Racing Reference and stuff, and one thing I want to point out that Brad Keselowski at Martinsville has scored 9 straight top 10 finishes, and 4 of the last 5 he scored a top 5. So I definitely look at Brad Keselowski maybe doing a similar move that Logano did, jumping above the cutoff line and just pushing everyone else down that's higher up in points further down. So I got Keselowski, Truex, Harvick, and Logano as my championship 4 when we come down to Phoenix Raceway in about, 2 weeks? So.
Zach?
Well, before the show, I started kind of looking around and digging for my original playoff grid that I made the regular season ended back in Daytona, and I found it. And I saw that my final 4 was Harvick, Hamlin, Elliott, and Truex. Obviously, one of them is going to be wrong because Logano's in. So sticking to what I had originally, I can only take one guy out. So if Logano's going to be in, I'm probably going to take Truex out of it because he is far back in points. He did win Martinsville last time, but just judging from the winning that he's done since then and just how the playoffs have worked for him, usually well. I mean, he usually wins the title like he did in 17 of finishing 2nd. But it's just something with that team. I'm just not feeling it this year. He and Kyle, the 18, have kind of been in that same group with me. I mean, if Truex didn't win Martinsville, we would be saying the same thing about Martin, about him going winless this year or nearing winlessness. And so I think he'll be the one to be out, and this time it'll be Harvick, Hamlin, Elliott, and Logano, the final 4.
All right, Sarah, it's on to you. What do you think?
Well, obviously Logano's already in there, so I still have to go with Harvick and Hamlin. I did have them originally. Those would probably be the only two I had correct because I know I didn't have Joey. And then my last one.
Wait. You live in Rhode Island. He's from the Northeast. How could you not pick Joey Logano?
He's from Connecticut. It's not part of New England. Let's not get into that. People think it's part of New England, and it's not. It is not a New England.
It's way up there.
It's not a New England state. And my last one.
Fired.
My last one. Really? Feel like I'm living in North Carolina again. I used to get called the Yankee all the time. I better get used to it next year.
I've gotten used to it, so.
Next year. And my last one, I'm going to go with Keselowski. I just don't think I can, especially like when Matt mentioned like his stats at Martinsville and whatnot, I just think it's really hard to not count him. And he is a past champion. So I just can't go by him. So Logano, Keselowski, Harvick, and Hamlin.
Seth, your turn.
Well, I'm going to be the contrarian here. I don't think that both Harvick and Hamlin are going to make it in, and mainly because I think we'll end up with two different winners at Texas and Martinsville. Keselowski at Martinsville, and I think at Texas, at least with the way they've been running on the intermediate tracks this year, either Chase Elliott or Alex Bowman.
That'd be an interesting. Yeah, I mean, Chase Elliott making it to the Final Four would make a lot of people happy. I'm sure it would make NASCAR happy to have a most popular driver also be a contender for the championship in NASCAR Cup Series. I don't know if that's ever happened, at least not in the past 19 years.
I think the last time that may have happened was.
Might have been Chase's
Bill
dad.
Elliott. Yeah, I was going to say Bill Elliott in 1992.
Well, I was gonna say it would have been.
I was going to say 92 with him versus Kwiatkowski.
Yeah,
Right.
It would have been pre elimination format, but Junior had a pretty strong run early on in his career when he was getting most popular, finished third or whatever.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but he's never won a championship. I don't think we've had. I know for a fact it's been since at least Bill Elliott since we've had a champion who was also the NMPA most popular driver, and I'm sure NASCAR would do anything they could to see Chase Elliott, hoist up the trophy at the end of the year. But
It's a story for probably another segment or anything, but you got to think NASCAR really helped Chase Elliott by not.
you think maybe that's what I was talking about.
I don't know. Maybe we have a story on the website or something about that. So Seth, real quick, I got to ask you mentioned Keselowski and then either Elliott or Bowman winning. Logano's already won, so like you said, Harvick and Hamlin, they're going to be fighting for that last spot. Which one do you think is going to have that final spot?
Between the two, at least with the way they've been running, and especially Hamlin's bad luck at Kansas this past weekend, the points he lost there, probably Harvick.
Well, I'm going to chime in and give mine, and I actually, Justin, your strategy is not so bold. I actually like Alex Bowman to make the Final Four. Obviously, Joey Logano's there. I think Denny Hamlin makes it. I don't think Kevin Harvick makes it. And here's the thing: he's my mom's favorite driver. So when my mom watches the show, she'll get mad at me again. That's fine. But no ill will towards Kevin. But I just don't think he'll make it. But with my luck, he probably will. So who's my fourth? Brad Keselowski. And the reason why, Joey Logano is going to do everything he can to help Brad get to victory lane and make it to the final race at Phoenix.
You're not picking Kurt?
He's out.
He's out? Okay.
Well, I mean,
I was about to say, I think we all picked every single driver to make it.
Here's the thing. Look, that's a pick from my heart. But
Right.
how many times have we seen a Cup Series engine blow in the past 5 years?
Never.
Something happened. Either they were trying something new, they've got a problem, and that's going to weigh on you as a driver. And look, it'd be great to see Kurt Busch make it to Phoenix and have a shot at the championship. he's got to win. I did, the bobblehead Kurt made the prediction. He can win. His best shot to win this weekend at Texas, in my opinion. So there's my Texas predictions. There's my Final Four predictions. I still think Joey Logano's a lock for the champion. You guys, let's wrap this up and give us some Texas predictions and tell me what y'all think.
Well, one last thought, which I think might pique your interest a little bit. 8 drivers have won the most popular driver award and the championship in the same year, or 8 times, I should say. 3 of which were Richard Petty.
Yeah, that was like in 1960.
Yeah, but only twice has it happened in the past 40 years. Once was Bill Elliott, once was Bobby Allison.
Told you it was Bill Elliott.
Oh, wow. So it has been a while.
Yes, it has. I might have looked up some of that. I didn't know the exact years, but I did know that it had been a long time. Actually,
1988.
Yeah, it has been a while. So.
Hey, raise your hand if you were alive in 1988. Everyone say hi, Jerry.
I was alive. I'm old.
So, yeah, I think Sarah and I are the only ones that can claim that we were alive in '88.
I don't remember what.
Well, the other one that was within the past 40 years, Bobby Allison, was in '83.
I was alive for that one too.
Let's just play a game. How old is Jerry? Going back 82.
Old enough to know when the last champion was. That was also the most popular driver.
I think if you go back, when was NASCAR formed?
1949.
1949 or 1948?
48. The first series for a Cup was 49.
Yeah.
Well, if you take that year and you use that year as a number, that's how old I am. My birthday was like 2 weeks ago today, 2 weeks ago. And remember, we had to do the show on a different night and all that.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
I thought you were born in 1948 for a minute. I'm like, what are you
No.
Although I do have one question about the NMPA award. If I remember correctly, wasn't it supposed to be named after Bill Elliott when he finishes racing, and he just hasn't finished racing yet?
I don't know anything about that.
I heard something about that.
Yeah, it was on Twitter. NASCAR man who does the YouTube docs with Brock Beard had posted it like 2 or 3 weeks ago. I just thought it was interesting.
I hadn't heard that, but I will ask the Oracle of Wisdom when it comes to all things NASCAR, and that is Bridget Holloman, who is the secretary for the NMPA and would know all of that information. I'll let you know next week.
Okay.
Okay, give me a pick. We got to get out of here. Course got to go to work.
Yeah.
Course will kick us off.
So for Texas, Jerry, I'm sorry, but I've got Harvick going to Speedy Cash victory lane out there at the Lone Star State. Joining him on Sunday, we got the double header on Sunday, which is going to be really cool. Zane Smith, and I think we're going to see Chase Briscoe park in victory lane again.
Zach?
You can agree with me on that one.
I'll go out on a limb a little bit. I feel like Ryan Blaney is going to win this weekend. He has dominated this place numerous times. He had one of his best races with the Wood Brothers back in 2017, I remember, but hasn't won here, but I feel like he's going to get that first Texas win. I also think we're going to get a first-time winner with Ryan Sieg. Judging off what Sarah said, I mean, I definitely have that feeling that he's going to sneak one in, whether it's fresh tires or whatever. I think he's going to win. And then Sheldon Creed for the Truck Series, which isn't too much of a surprise.
Sarah, your turn.
I have to agree with Zach on Sheldon Creed. I don't really know what it's telling me about the Truck Series with him with Texas, but he's obviously done really well this year. And I have to agree with Matt on Harvick. I was looking at Racing Reference, and he has not finished worse than 10th at Texas since 2014 when he finished 42nd. And he has 3 wins since then. And he hasn't actually finished worse than 8th since that 10th place in 2016. So I have to go with Harvick. I think he's going to win Texas, and I think Briscoe will win in the Xfinity Series.
Justin, you're up.
Yeah, so I think Sheldon Creed is going to get the win here at Texas this weekend, and be the leader of wins in the Truck Series with 4 on the season. For Xfinity, I don't think Briscoe's going to win this one. I have a feeling he's going to win Martinsville. But this round, I think Chastain's finally going to get his first win of the season. I think Chastain's got something for Texas there. I think he's going to grab his spot to the championship with that victory. And then for Cup Series, I think this is where Alex Bowman's going to sneak his way in as well. But yeah, if it's not a playoff driver, I was actually kind of thinking Ryan Blaney as well, because he's been so dominant on the 1.5 miles. Well, actually, you could pretty much argue any track in any race this year. Just something happens, whether it be a late race caution and then he pits while everyone doesn't, or he stays out while everyone else pits, or just gets caught up in someone else's mess, whatever it might be. But if a non-playoff driver is going to win, I think Blaney's finally going to get another trophy for himself.
Seth?
Oh, for the Cup Series, I'm going to go with Alex Bowman. Xfinity, Brandon Jones, and for trucks, Tyler Ankrum. I'll say he pulls a rabbit out of the hat and gets back into the championship 4.
Oh, wow.
I'm picking Briscoe in the Xfinity Series because I think he's going to just win out. I think Moffitt is going to go back-to-back in trucks. And this is going to surprise y'all. Clint Boyer started his NASCAR series career at Texas Motor Speedway. I think Clint Boyer goes out with a victory at TMS this weekend, and what a party it'll be, because there's going to be a bunch of people from Kansas coming down to hang out with Clint Boyer. So,
Imagine
Clint,
him with
if
6
you're
shooters.
watching, I'm picking Clint Boyer.
The cowboy hat. Oh my God.
Clint Boyer with 6 shooters in his hands, baby. That's going to be awesome to see at Texas Motor Speedway. I'll be there. Corson, you'll be there. That's going to do it this week for the show. Appreciate everybody joining us and coming on. I didn't mention Rachel earlier. I don't want her to forget. We didn't have Rachel on the show as well. We missed her. But she never comes on unless she's fixing your camera, Justin.
I will get her on. Like, I will flat out tell her, like, you're getting on, or I don't know. She's the wife. Can't really do much.
Yeah, exactly. That's going to do it for us this week before Justin gets himself in trouble. Tune in next week. See who is right. See who is wrong. Probably me. And no offense to Kevin Harvick. I'm not wishing bad things for you. See y'all next week. Thanks for tuning in to Kicking the Tires and the Kickin' Show.